Bentornati tifosi napolitani to another edition of Far From Vesuvius Frenemies. And this week for Inter Napoli, I have probably one of the best people to talk to as far as Inter goes, one of the best for Serie A as well. He is the host of Calcio Connection podcast. His name is Alex Donno. What's going on, my friend? How are you today?
Raffa, I'm doing so well, man, and it's an honor to be on with you. You do such a great job with all this programming, man. I'm so happy, and I know we're going to get into it. I am so excited and nervous for this match because this is a big one for Inter. It's one of these. It's about as close to a must-win as you can get in November.
Yeah, tell me about it. I mean, Inter are only 7 points out of both Milan and Napoli. An Inter win here, plus, hopefully if we're both hoping Milan drop points, I'm sure. But and you're right back in it. You can if you can beat Napoli, and if somehow Fiorentina can beat Milan, you're 4 points off the Scudetto. Going into the season, Alex, I personally want to tell you that I had Inter winning the Scudetto. I made my picks after even after the Mercato, and I still had Inter winning it. I know a lot of people might have thought differently about them because of Lukaku and Hakimi and Conte leaving, but the pickups that you guys made, especially Correa, for me, was so important. Dzeko still doing his thing, and I remained, and Simone Inzaghi, of course, is a very good coach. I kept Inter in that Scudetto spot because I give them champions respect, and the fact that they did make good moves, I wouldn't say like for like, but they definitely made moves to pretty much make up for the losses. How do you feel about the transfer window, the way it went, losing the biggest player Inter's had in a long time, and then kind of just seeing what you're seeing now? How do you feel in November about the moves from the transfer window?
Yeah, I probably actually felt maybe a little bit better about the transfer window right when it was closing than I do right now, but I'm still hopeful. As far as the outgoings go, obviously it's very hard to replace someone like Lukaku, what he did for Inter, and Hakimi, absolutely. I thought and I still think that the biggest loss was Conte. And I like Inzaghi a lot. I think Inzaghi was the best possible replacement, but Conte to me is just, especially domestically, world class. People can pick apart his European record, but domestically, you can't argue the results that he's created at so many different clubs. But as far as some of the players in the transfer window, I've been pleasantly surprised by at least one, and I'm still waiting for more from a few others. I did not expect Edin Dzeko to have the impact that he's had. He's, I watched him pretty closely at Roma the previous couple of seasons, and I really thought he had fallen off. I think for him, motivation, I think, is a big part of it. I think the change of scenery and, he just looks like a man possessed to start the season, and he meshes well, obviously, with his teammates and clearly works well with the formation. So I think that's paid off as well. So he's been a big, pleasant surprise to me. Like you, I'm a big fan of Tucu Correa. I think the best is yet to come with him. At least I hope. because his role, it's been a lot of little injuries, and Inter have had terrible luck with international breaks. I mean, he comes out of this one fine, but in the previous couple international breaks, he came back with knocks both times. So he just really hasn't been consistently available enough and fully fit enough. And I also think the fact that Dzeko has played so well, and and Lautaro has been a pretty regular starter, so it's kind of taken away some opportunities from Correa to be in the starting 11. But I still, I think that I'm hopeful that we're only kind of seeing the beginning with him, because he's not been very consistent. Although when he scores, he tends to score twice, because he's got 4 goals and they've been 2 braces so far this season. Obviously, people will always point to the addition of Hakan Çalhanoğlu, who he's put in a few excellent performances. I thought he was very good against Milan right before the international break, but he's also had some clunkers, which has been the story on Hakan's career, right? At least his career in Serie A. I didn't really watch him before he got to Milan, but very inconsistent. A player that we are really, I think, waiting to just develop and find comfort. He's already getting criticized by a lot of Interisti, but I think it's a little bit early, is Denzel Dumfries, because I think just the adjustment from coming over from the Dutch league to Serie A, I think he's still really kind of picking up the tactics, and I think his confidence has been up and down. We've seen a couple of good performances from him, some really poor performances, and I'm not comparing the two players. I would never compare these two, at least not yet. But I think a lot of Interisti forget that it took Achraf Hakimi a while to really find his footing. He had some poor performances the first half of the season last year, and then from January on, he was world class. So again, I'm not directly comparing Dumfries to Hakimi, but I would say have more patience with this guy. So, and listen, the key, and you touched on this a little bit, Raffa, as far as Inter's transfer window did, I think on a shoestring budget, I thought they actually did an excellent job, replacing a couple of world-class, high-priced exits with some good counterparts. So I thought they did a fine job in the transfer window, and you could argue that they have the deepest, if not maybe one of the 2 or 3 deepest squads in Serie A still. And you've seen, players coming off the bench have an impact, and especially in the 5-sub era now, according to these FIFA rules, it gives them a bit of an advantage over most teams.
Dzeko has 7 goals, and I think he only scored 8 last year with Roma. So 7 goals in November. 35 years old. He shares a birthday with me at Dzeko. I just realized that now. So that's a pretty cool thing. Let's talk about where they are in the standings now. 3rd place, 7 points adrift. A couple of drop points, drop points to Juventus, drop points to Milan. The loss, who was the loss against? I forgot.
Lazio.
The loss was to Lazio. Yes, that's right. But only that one loss, are you content with where they are in the standings right now? Do you see them somehow catch? I know it's so early, man. It's still only the 13th match of the season. But do you see them possibly, getting back into because right now, if you ask anybody, they'll tell you it's a 2-horse race right now between Napoli and Milan, but that could definitely change. And can Inter hang? You talked about their depth. Can they make it a 3-horse race for the Scudetto?
I think they can, and I'll answer the first part of it as far as my feelings on where Inter are in the standings. I think if you zoom out, it's not so bad. They're actually only 2 points behind where they were at this time a season ago. Now I don't know if I can count on them going on, an 11-match winning streak the second half of the season like they did last year, but they're only 2 points off where they were a season ago. I just think that. I didn't expect Napoli and Milan both to start this hot. So if you just look at where Inter are kind of in a vacuum, it's really not so bad. They're in striking range. It's just Napoli and Milan have both been flying. So it makes things look a little bit worse than they really are. As far as making it a 3-horse race, I think that this upcoming match day is going to tell us a lot, right? Because you talk about being 7 points back if Inter are able to get all 3 points against Napoli, then they're right back in it. And it's officially a 3-horse race,
Sure.
regardless of what happens with Milan. Now, if
Right.
Milan were to also drop points, then,
Then it's on. Yeah, for
then
sure.
it's absolutely on. But then
Mhm.
on the flip side of that, though, Raffa, if Inter lose and they're 10 points back of Napoli, especially if Milan beat Fiorentina and then they're 10 points back of both teams, I don't want to get overly dramatic in, mid-November, but I think being 10, even this early, I think being 10 points back of two teams, it's going to make it very difficult. And I think then you would need to see something like you saw last year where Inter went on a huge winning streak. Like you would need to see something like that. And right now, you talked about the matches that Inter have drawn and then the one match they lost. I think the frustrating thing for Interisti so far this season has just been they've dropped points in all of the big games. Like they've only lost one of them, but they had a draw with Atalanta, a draw with Milan, a draw with Juventus. So they don't really have a signature win yet in the Serie A. And obviously they're hoping this weekend can be it. It's going to be difficult with all the injuries. And at least, I think it's looking better on who's fit enough to play. I just don't know how many players are actually 100%.
Speaking of players being 100%, how is Barella doing? We had, but no, I'm sorry, not Barella, Bastoni.
Right.
Bastoni had to leave camp early from the Italian national team to come back. What's going on with him? What's the 11 look like? Is it the normal 11 of the Bastoni, De Vrij, and Skriniar in the back? Guessing Barella is going to be in the midfield too with my gosh, my name just
with Hakan and Brozovic.
Hakan and Brozovic, right? And Dzeko available. Is everybody available? Is everybody ready to go? Are we having issues with Bastoni? What's going on?
Here's what we're looking like right now. I believe Bastoni will be fit enough to start, which is good news. But Inter will be without Stefan de Vrij. He picked up a knock with the Netherlands, so he is going to be out for this game. And obviously, historically, at least since he's been in the club for the last 4 seasons, De Vrij has overall been tremendous. He's actually not been in great form so far this season. So I would expect, and he's not fit anyway, so it's a moot point. But I would expect Ranocchia to start in his place. And Ranocchia over the years has been a meme for in pieces as well. So it's looking like it's going to be Bastoni, Ranocchia, and Skriniar in the back. Obviously, Handanovic in net. And then the midfield, I think it's going to be the regular midfield. Now, Barella he looks exhausted. Like he's looked exhausted with the Azzurri, which is unfortunate. Yeah. But I think he's going to start with Brozovic, who's having a tremendous season, and Hakan Çalhanoğlu. You never know what you're going to get with this guy. He could be world-class or he could be awful. We'll find out. And then up front, so Dzeko missed the games with Bosnia.
I did see that
due to injury. My understanding is that Dzeko is fit enough to be in the squad, and right now there are conflicting reports as to whether he'll start or come off the bench. So it seems to me like it's 50-50. Lautaro is going to start. We're unsure, probably until Sunday morning whether Lautaro is going to be with Correa or with Dzeko.
Okay, and then Alexis, I see, has picked up an injury as well, right? Alexis,
so he won't be available off the bench. And I didn't mention, I forgot to mention the wing backs. I would expect to see
Perisic and Darmian.
I would expect Perisic on the left to start and Darmian on the right. That's usually the big match starter for Inzaghi.
Mm-hmm. All right. How do you see it going, man? What are you thinking?
That's the big question. I'm trying not even to allow myself to consider losing this game. Although I'll say this, I think it's more likely Napoli take all 3 points than Inter take all 3 points. I think I'm expecting a draw is the way that I look at this. I think it would really help Inter if Barella was fully fit. He's going to start, but he's looked like he needs a break. And unfortunately, between Inter and the Azzurri and 3 competitions with the club, he's just not getting that. I think Ranocchia can do a job back there in the back three, but you always with him, you're walking on eggshells because he's prone to make some mistakes. And you know, I need to see more from Lautaro. I need to see more consistency. He's missing too many sitters, and it's really unfortunate. So. Just Napoli, obviously, they're in tremendous form. They're in better league form. If this game were in Naples, I would be very afraid of something really bad happening. I think the fact that it's in Milano, and it's unfortunate. I don't really understand the full reasons why, Italian politics, whatever, that Napoli can't even travel to this game, which I think is unfortunate because I wish they were allowed to have their contingent there. But obviously that, you would assume that's going to give more of an advantage, the atmosphere to Inter. So I think Inter can get something out of this game. I think maybe a 1-1 or a 2-2 draw, but Napoli are really dangerous. We get to see our old friend Luciano Spalletti, and I'm thinking, I'm hoping for a win, but I'm thinking a draw.
All right. Well, I mean, that's fair enough. I think I'd be happy with a draw. I think going to Milan to get a draw from, the current Italian champions, who are, not in bad form at all, is something that we can, be okay with. I mean, Napoli this season are taking care of the smaller teams. They're taking care of the games that they should be winning, that the games that they, historically might, drop a few points to because of whatever reason. And a draw away to Inter would be phenomenal, in my opinion. It just sucks that Milan has to have their best start in 67 seasons. It's funny, right? A team like Milan, right? Come on. A team like Milan, this is the season that they choose to start their best start in 67 seasons. Of course, because Napoli have the same exact record. Yes, of course. Real quickly, Shakhtar Donetsk on Wednesday. Champions League, I mean, it's looking good. You took care of the mighty group giants of the Sheriff.
It's crazy how they took 3 points against everybody except Inter. So
I love it. I was loving the Shakhtar. I mean, the Sheriff hype, and I was really like, not because they're Inter, but I was hoping for something from Sheriff to like compete for the rest of it. But I mean, they're still in. It's 6 points. But you guys, looks like you and Real Madrid. I always really was interested in this group in the Champions League because of the 3 Italian managers. I thought that was real cool. I don't remember a time where there were 3 Italian managers in one same group.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. That's a great point.
If there's anybody out there, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
If anybody out there can point me in the direction of finding out, or if anybody knows off the top of their head, just hit us up at Far From Vesuvius. But yeah, I mean, 3 Italian managers in the same group, it always intrigued me. And you guys go up against De Zerbi. He's a former Napoli guy himself. On Wednesday, you have a manager in Simone Inzaghi, who last season got out of the group stage with Lazio. And now you guys look like you're going to get out of the group stage here for the first time in God knows how long, right?
Almost a decade.
Yeah. What are your hopes for in the Champions League? Are you looking to like go all? I mean, I'm sure you want to go all the way. Who doesn't want to go all the way? But realistically, should you get out of this group stage? What is a good showing in Europe for you?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think the answer would probably vary from Interista to Interista. For me, heading into it long before the group stage even started this year, for me it was get into the knockout stages. That I would be somewhat satisfying with just getting to the round of 16, and that may feel like kind of a low standard for a team that was pot 1 in this group.
Mm-hmm.
But I also understood, the content, and it's one of these things, Raffa, where Inter are just so complicated because there's not to say Napoli can't be, I know, of course, but one of the things about Inter, especially lately, is you almost have to wear two hats when you're studying and covering the club. There's the on the field hat, and then there's the off the field hat, and it's just
Right.
it's been so difficult with everything, with budgets and a lot of misinformation. Like I know the financial situation with ownership is bad, but you can't really get a straight answer. Is it catastrophic bad or is it attainable bad? I just know it's bad. I don't know exactly where it is on that scale. So I think a lot of that, when you study all this off the pitch stuff, it does lower your standard a little bit. I mean, it's not usual. Like, there are some Interisti who didn't even really expect to say, oh, Scudetto is the standard for. They were almost like, oh, we won it last year, but there's no way it's going to happen this year. I thought Inter have a good enough squad that I picked Juventus to win a Scudetto, which is not aging well, at least not yet.
No.
But I did not pick Inter to win the Scudetto this year, but I did pick them to compete for it. So, you go back after, I think it's been 3 consecutive seasons since they've been back in Champions League and couldn't pass the group stage, including twice under Conte, once under Spalletti, twice under Conte, that, I would be pretty thrilled with quarterfinals. I'd be satisfied with round of 16. And it'd be hard to imagine getting to the semifinals, although 4 or 5 years ago, Roma surprised everyone and did it. So it's not impossible.
Not impossible. Alex, you are an Inter fan, but our fans probably don't know how you became one. And I'm sure if you guys go over and listen to Calcio Connection with him and the one of a kind Jerry Mancini, why don't you tell our listeners how you became an Inter fan, my man?
Yeah, my story, it's strictly passed down from family. My father is from Milano. He grew up in Interista.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
and he is in, and this is like very, very common in Milano to have houses divided. Like it's something,
yes,
because Inter and Milan, it's not based on geography really, and it's very common in families over there to have certain children, a Milanista, Interista. So my father, his older brother, my zio Beppe, is a Milanista. So they always had feuds, although my nonno, may he rest in peace, my father's father was an Interista. So I always say my dad was the good son because he took his allegiances from his dad, where my uncle rebelled and became a Milanista. So yeah, my father passed it down to me. And it was, for when I was a really little kid, I didn't really care about calcio, but then when I was 7 years old, for whatever reason, I think it was because I started playing, but I caught the bug, because my father tried to get me into it when I was like 4, 5, 6, and I'm trying to get my 3-year-old son into it, and he's responding to it a little bit, but it's like a switch for me when I was 7 years old. I started to care, and then I'm like asking my dad, tell me more about Inter, and he started buying me some gear, and
that's cool.
It's been that way ever since.
Love it. I love it, man. Similar to my story,
Nice.
Passed down from generation. My dad's from Naples, like in the city of Naples too, not even like in the outskirts. My dad's from, Procida or, here, Castellamare, whatever, right? Salerno, whatever. No, dad was born and raised at the train station, the central train station in Naples. And just we go nuts for it. I mean, ever since I was a little kid, and now my kids too. So similar, very similar.
I see the pictures of you and your kids.
Dude.
I think it's so cool.
It's awesome, isn't it? And my 10-year-old is so, like, you have this to look forward to, man. My 10-year-old is the most knowledgeable dude. Like, we can have incredibly intelligent conversations about Napoli and about certain players. And we were having a Chucky Lozano conversation yesterday, the remarks that he had made. Wow. And he was like hitting me with these, like, well, Dad, he is a good player. He makes a good point. There might be bigger teams out there than Napoli. And I'm like, all right, dude. All right, dude, relax.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny about my kid? I find this to be hilarious and a little bit concerning. So my son, he's gonna be 4 in a few months, so he doesn't completely understand the game, but
not yet.
My son, he's getting there, but my son, he loves Romelu Lukaku.
Ooh, okay.
So, like, I'm really worried because, like, last season, because Lukaku scored a ton of goals. We'd watch games together. He always wanted to pretend to be the guy who scored all the goals, and that was Lukaku. And so, like, I've explained to him, like, 10 times, oh, he's not on the team anymore. He's on Chelsea. And then it's like every time an Inter match comes on, he'll ask me, he's like, how's Lukaku doing with his new team? I'm like, don't worry about him. He's actually not doing that great with his new team. Let's look. He also likes Lautaro and Barella. But my kid he fell in love with Lukaku last season. So it's like, I have to teach that lesson really young that players come and go. Like the crest is forever.
Yes.
Don't get too attached to players.
Well, so my kid, my older kid, Rocco, he was born in the Cavani days. So he faintly remembers me yelling Cavani, and then it was Higuain. So when he was able to understand, it was Higuain. I think it was in the manner Higuain left Napoli that he really understood, oh, Higuain's trash. No good. So hopefully your son gets off that, Lukaku train and doesn't become a Chelsea fan.
He likes Lautaro, so I just need Lautaro to score more goals.
That's
so
it. You just need Lautaro to get it going. But all right, man. Listen, Calcio Connection, but I know you do a lot more. Why don't you real quick just tell us what it is that you do, outside of Calcio? What do you got going on, Alex Donno?
Thanks so much, man. Yes, outside of the Calcio Connection, down here in Miami, I cover the local sports teams. I do post-game shows on the Miami Dolphins radio network and Miami Hurricanes radio network. For 560 WQAM here, and I do internet streams daily on 5reasonsports.com. We shoot the breeze, we talk a lot of different things, but for those platforms, I focus on the Miami Dolphins in the NFL, the Miami Hurricanes in college football, the Miami Heat, a little bit of Florida Panthers and hockey talk. So I'm usually I have 2 or 3 screens going on any given Saturday and Sunday. Watching a bunch of different games from Calcio to American football.
Dude, and my cousin Dan, Daniele Meluzis. What's up, Dan? My he's like Dan? My brother. He's a humongous Miami Dolphins fan. He's actually taking.
You should tell him to tune in. We talk a ton of Dolphins.
Will do. I mean, he's up here in New York with me. We work together, but he's headed down to the Dolphins Jets game on Sunday with his son. So maybe a cool shout out would be cool if you could.
I will. I will, absolutely. And especially the more Dolphins fans we can get at MetLife. We call it the MetLife takeover, right? I love that.
Yeah, that's cool. So Alex, good luck with Inter the rest of the season. Good luck, especially this weekend, because I think you're gonna need it, my man. Napoli's looking good, dude. And listen, their players. Listen, I'm a big proponent. I don't know if this is you, but I'm a big proponent of. And a lot of people that I know in my circle aren't really fond of the national team breaks. I love it. I love national team football. I really do. But I'm always itching to get back to Napoli. My thing is this. I always want my players on Napoli to do good. So I'm always keeping my eye on those players. And these guys had a friggin' killer international week, man.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, you had Ramani scoring goals for Kosovo. You had, Anguissa got a goal, which is rare. 2 goals from Elmas and 2 assists in another match that he was in. The team is doing well outside in their national team. I feel like when they come back from a break after having such a great time with their national team, that hopefully, I know they're tired, but hopefully that can motivate them to get a W against Inter. It's so important. This is a very important match. I know you did a preview on Calcio Connection that you just posted, I believe, right before we recorded. So everybody, I want everybody that's listening here to go right over after you're done and listen to that preview. You had on
Uncle Sharma.
You had Uncle Sharma. Okay, yes. And you previewed Inter Napoli. Listen to it, guys. Please always support our Calcio content creators. Alex is one of the best that does it with Jerry Mancini. If you could get past Jerry and his constant Cheeto Immobile chat, He'll bring him up in any single instance that you guys ever. I've been on the show.
It always comes back to Chino.
It's like, you ever gonna not talk about Immobile? Is there a way you could not find a way not to talk about Immobile? But he's an amazing person. I love the guy.
He's the best.
He is a great person. But yeah, go support Alex and Jerry at the Calcio Connection. Anything else you want to say real quick before we head out?
Just good luck to you as well. And the most important thing, I want this to be a really exciting match because Inter has certainly had some of those. Like I was disappointed by drop points against Milan and drop points against Atalanta, but those were two of the better matches in Serie A this season. And I think that Inter and Napoli, there is a recipe for a great match. Obviously, I hope to take all 3 points, and I also hope and I expect Spalletti to be cheered because he deserves it, right?
Yeah.
He had a nice time. It took Inter out of a really tough period and helped solidify the project. So, and I'm not expecting him to get whistled. Maybe a few idiots. I think he's going to get the good reception he deserves.
Well, let's hope, everybody. 12 o'clock Eastern on Sunday, Inter Napoli early battle for the Scudetto. Let's all get into it. Alex, I want to thank you again for coming on. Hopefully we can get you on again soon.
I'd love to.
And yeah, man, good luck, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Ciao, ciao.